Alright guys, welcome to 124 for Algebra 2. This is going to be the kind of last kind of culminating section for this particular chapter. We're going to introduce a new equation, but we're just going to be focusing more on the kind of analysis of it versus the actual equation itself and too much about it specifically. So we're going to be taking a look at 5 over x squared plus 1 minus 1. So don't worry about the learning log part here. I do want you guys to kind of investigate this. So I want you to sketch a graph of it, make a table that covers any of the kind of useful points on that particular graph. Determine the x and y intercepts of it, identify any of the asymptotes, and then describe the shape and the end behavior of it, and then anything else that just seems important about it. This is our kind of general process for completely investigating a new graph. This is the things that I want us to kind of do. So I'm going to have you kind of try this out. It is totally fine to use Desmos and graph these and kind of look at what you know, but try and answer those 6 things about it before you kind of move on and call it good. So go ahead and pause the video, try that out on your own, and then I'm going to go ahead and try and go through most of those things here in a second. All right, so let me pull up Desmos real quick. So here is what we get for the graph of that particular problem here. So our graph kind of looks like this. We get this little weird peak right there at 0, 4, then goes back down. So it's pretty symmetrical over that y-axis. As far as our intercepts go, we have an intercept there at 0, 4, like I mentioned, and then we have one here at -2, and also over here at +2 for our x-intercepts. Asymptote-wise, I don't see any vertical asymptotes, but I do see a kind of weird thing happening here horizontally, right? I'm kind of following this kind of flat line as I go left and right. Now, kind of where is that line at? Well, let's get out to, where's it going to change? There we go, right there. So here, so this gray line here is -1. So I kind of follow that. I'm going to say it never actually goes lower than that. So we kind of have that -1 being as low as this thing is ever going on both the left and the right. So we're kind of seeing a horizontal asymptote at -1, but there actually are no vertical asymptotes, which is strange because all the other rational stuff we've had those vertical asymptotes. Well, why is that? Let's look at the bottom of the equation here, right? There's no value x that I can plug in and get a negative on the bottom because I'm squaring every x I plug in, which makes it positive, and then +1, it's still going to be positive. So it's impossible for me to get 0 here. Because if I plug in x is 0 plus 1, I'm now dividing by 1, not dividing by 0. So I can never divide by 0 in this particular case. So I'm not going to see any of those vertical asymptotes, just that one horizontal one. The shape, we kind of have this kind of bell shape here. And then our end behavior, again, it's kind of following that asymptote at -1 as we go to either side. And important points, well, this y-intercept is also kind of our main important point because it's kind of that peak of that graph there. So that's kind of what I would say is a good way to identify and kind of investigate this particular graph. And for right now, that's all I'm really trying to get us to do today. We're not going to get more into this one quite yet. It's a thing that we'll visit more in the future, but for right now, that's all we really need. Okay, so for our closure, that's kind of how did you determine things like range until we got our graph there. Here's our homework for tonight. That's about all we have for this last section. Last sections are typically going to be a little bit more kind of light and just kind of trying to get you to summarize a lot of the ideas that we've learned and kind of gone over and things like that. And then finally, once you finish this, the next assignment we're going to be doing is the closure. Here is the closure on this one. If you've not done the closures the way that I do them before, on the very end of the closure, on that same page, in fact, is all of the answers for every single one of those closure problems. Those closure problems are where I get your test problems from. Obviously, you just take the closure problems which you've covered enough to justify putting it on a test at this point, and then I put it on a test and I change a few of the numbers. Basically, if you can do everything on the closure and you understand it and you checked your answers and you're feeling good, you should feel very, very good for the test for that particular chapter. So with that, that's all we have for today, and I will talk to you guys next time.